Good morning or good afternoon. How have you guys been? I miss talking to you guys. I know you guys been probably wondering where I've been. I just dropped season 2, episode 1 and disappeared from months, right? Well, I recently started a new job. That same week I dropped that first episode. Thinking I could keep up with it. It didn't work out so well. So I was trying to work out a time to work on my episodes, so my apologies for that big gap. But today we're going to jump right into it. We're going to discuss raising kids and setting boundaries with your kids and the adults that are around your kids. Now, this is something that was recently tested with me. So to start off, of course, everyone's entitled to raise their kids according to their own terms and beliefs. There are parents who believe in homeschooling and other parents who trust in the public school system to teach their kids, and there's no problem with either one of those. So some parents, they raise their kids, in the church to their upbringing, and others raise their kids as non-believers. Now, I'm in a parent Facebook group, and there was a recent discussion on what's the weird thing you do with raising your children. And there were a lot of interesting things in there. People talked about homeschooling, of course. They don't bring their kids up in the church, or, they allow their kids to curse as long as they're not cursing at each other in a derogatory form. But what made me think was, so why is it weird? I mean, it's not really weird, it's just different, and we're all different. Like, we're all not the same, and obviously we're not going to do the same things. It did make me think of how I raised my kids differently than how I grew up, and most things, like most of the ways I choose to raise them, are very intentional. I honestly don't believe in forcing a kid to quote-unquote clean their plate. And I do cook different meals in my household. And people told me before that I'm spoiling my kids. So to me that means I'm loving them too much, apparently. But I see it as I respect my kids' choices. Just because they're kids doesn't mean they're not allowed to have opinions. Now, my youngest daughter, she doesn't like to eat meat. So why would I try to force her to eat something she doesn't like? That's weird. I'm low carb, so I don't eat the same thing everyone else eats. So I don't have a problem making something, that fits my kids' preferences. Now back to the post that I was talking about in the group. Like I said, there were some parents who said that they would let their kids curse, as long as they don't use it to put each other down or put other people down. And I do agree with that. They are words. They're words they use to express themselves, and words I use at times. And I think most people don't like it because they're used derogatory majority of the time. I personally don't like another thing. I personally don't like other people, family or not, hitting my kids. I don't hit my kids, so nobody else should be putting their hands on my kids. I really don't like that. Now, if you guys remember last season, that my husband and I are atheists, and the way we raise our kids are the same way. Now, no one should be telling me or anyone else who raised their kids that way that they should be raising their kids as Christians. I don't go around telling Christian parents that they shouldn't be raising their kids that way, because that's their kids, that's their choice. And I respect their choice to do that. I don't question them. I don't insist that they're wrong. But I recently had someone tell me it was wrong to raise my kids the way I raised them, and that I was denying them joy in the world because I'm raising them as non-believers. They also informed me that they didn't know I was atheist, and it's not like I'm protesting that I'm an atheist, but I feel like majority of people, especially family, know that, but since they don't agree with it, they just ignore it and pretend that I am a Christian when I'm really not, and I never expressed being Christian. Now, that situation, what that person said to me, really annoyed me, and it honestly doesn't even make me feel comfortable leaving my kids alone with them, because I feel like they're not going to respect my choices as a parent. They were insisting on taking my child to church and introducing Christian material to them after I already said no. Now, if someone, family or not, is going to actively go against the boundaries I set with my kids and go against how I choose to raise my kids, then respectfully, you don't need to be involved in their lives. And that's very weird to do something like that. I still cannot grasp my mind around it. Do that with your own kids, not somebody else's kids. Why? And I think the older generation, they're really stern in their beliefs, and they think they're allowed to make decisions for your kids because they're family, but that's not how it goes. All decisions for my kids will go through myself and my husband, and it's respectful to ask the parents first before taking a kid somewhere or making a decision for that kid. My goal with how I raise my kids are that they don't grow up in a stressful household where they're afraid to express how they feel. I feel like I am achieving that because I do have open conversations with my kids, and I would never have been able to do that as a child. Before I talk about my oldest, I did ask him for his permission to discuss him on the show, and my oldest is gay, and I'm happy that he felt comfortable to share that with us, and that he wasn't worried that we might think of him differently. And to us, him being gay changes nothing. For our families, it's not really the same. Or some people think it's wrong for cultural reasons, and others think he's too young to decide that he's gay. Now, me personally, I'm bisexual, and I've shared that with my kids, but it's not something I've really announced publicly due to the fear of scrutiny. But my son really gave me the courage to speak my truth about who I really am. Who I'm attracted to has nothing to do with who I am as a person. Now, some people may look at me differently, but I don't really care. I turned 34 a couple days ago, and why should I spend my life hiding who I am? And how can I hope my kids can be their true selves if I can't even do it myself? Thank you guys for listening, and see you next week.